So we left off.
And what's this thing over here? A lobster claw? What's that supposed to do?
Well, Crow, that's for the seafood lover in you.
The doctor quickly gives him oxygen. That's a common cure for having a claw. And soon the MNU sellswords are called in, put him in a bag, and whisk him off in a helicopter. Some kind of medical procedure is taking place, and there are many things about it that I would find worrying, including the fact that someone put the X-ray on the right there upside down. It's about the time you'll find that they've replaced your nose with a red light to make surgery easier. After finding the cylinder and giving him a spray down with a hose, he gets led into a place where alien remains are being examined in conditions that would make Upton Sinclair burst from his grave like the Kool-Aid Man.
Pain threshold, test 1, DBX7.
Exit test 1, DBX7.
What about your Hippocratic Oath, Doctor? Doctor? Lemmy, did you hear that? He called me Doctor! Having proven that his nervous system is indeed connected to the new limb, naturally the next medical test will be to see how well he can fire a gun. This is a diagnostic rarely employed outside of Texas. With his new claw hand, Vicus is able to shoot the alien weapons, but he doesn't want to, so they use a taser to make his claw contract so that it fires whether he wants to or not. Well, given that, he says he'll pull the trigger, but turns out the people who are willing to drill a hole in his arm to see if he can feel pain are utter bastards. So they keep shocking him anyway. Then they bring in a live alien to serve as a target to test to see if his human hand can fire the gun. And despite Vicus' protest that he doesn't want to murder this poor schmuck, I'm starting to get the feeling the multinational corporation with their own army of hired killers is the bad guy.
What's important is that we harvest from him what we can right now.
Will he survive the procedure?
No, of course not. We need everything. Tissue, bone marrow, blood. The procedure's going to basically strip him down to nothing.
I don't want to rush to judgment, that's just my impression of them. His wife is horrified to learn from her father that he died, but at least he doesn't tell her that it's because he's about to be reduced to component pieces. Well, you saw earlier the one prawn was able to kick a guy like a football, so it's no surprise that his body horror has given him similar enhanced strength. So he breaks out of his restraints, grabs the mad scientist in charge, and takes him hostage until he can escape the building. He steals a phone, but can't get hold of his wife, and everyone else was inclined to get him recaptured, reasoning that he needed special medical help. And by reducing you to your pieces, well, that's medical, and it is special. It's just not really help, but they'd probably argue 2 out of 3 isn't bad. By the way, I don't know if it's intended or not, but I am incredibly amused at the fact that the person saying, look, we need to bring in our employee for their own good, and by their own good, I mean strip them down to useful components, that person is in human resources. I mean, I didn't think that was quite so literal. To turn the public against Vicus, the story is planted that he's infected with a terrible disease that he caught by boning aliens. But who could really say no to a chance to tap that cloaca?
Stop Vicus. Don't go away after the break.
Wow, I guess this place replaced have it your way with you'll have it our way. Vicus camps out in District 9, figuring it's the one place no one will look for him. He buys a can of cat food off the mobsters, relishes about half of it, and throws the rest away when he realizes he's eating cat food. I mean, even Garfield doesn't like to eat cat food. He also loses a couple of teeth, although the close-up of his mouth says that this is a guy way beyond dental work anyway. He finally gets hold of his wife, but she seems to have accepted the cover story, no matter how much she insists he never had sex with an alien. Besides that time on business, of course. What happens on Vega stays on Vega. Well, desperate times call for stupid measures. Well, no time to continue chopping pieces off himself. The sellswords are out en masse trying to find him with helicopters. He ducks into the home of Red Vest and his kid, and naturally this guy doesn't want anything to do with him if he's with the authorities, and definitely not if he's pursued by the authorities. When he sees the claw, though, Red Vest realizes that he must have been exposed to the motor oil mace, so we're going to have to keep him safe until we can ask him about it. Perfect. When he comes to, Vickus says that MNU has the cylinder now, which naturally pisses off Red Vest. But this gives Vickus a chance to realize where he is. Somehow this guy built this place under his shack, and that the black fluid is actually fuel. Vickus' attitude leaves a lot to be desired, but it quickly changes when Red Vest comments that there are medical machines on the mothership that could restore him to full humanity. Well, as much as he had had before. The snag is that to get to the mothership, they need fuel, and it took 20 years to get the amount he already had. They're not just going to find a gas can full of the stuff somewhere. Not to mention, they've searched all of the easiest places already. It took 20 years to get the easiest stuff. How long is it going to take to get the stuff that's really buried somewhere, huh? No, the only chance would be to get it back from MNU, with only one snag to that plan being that it's protected by an army of vicious bastards. Vickus soon learns that this stuff is spreading, though.
Fuck.
Dude, didn't your mother ever tell you picking at it doesn't help? His wife calls to say actually she believes him. She just wants him to be back the way things that were before, he grew an exoskeleton. Well, with that encouragement, Vickus is willing to at least try breaching MNU, despite the ridiculous odds against them. Of course, that call is being tracked by MNU, and they figure out that he's in District 9, at least for now. When he asks Red Vest about the black fluid, the dude says they can use that to get up to the mothership, use the medical equipment to restore Vickus to normal, and then all the prawns can go back home again. The one problem they have, and we don't want to undersell it, is that it is completely impossible to overcome beating all the security and the sellswords that MNU has there. The answer, then, is to get some weapons, and that means going to the gangsters.
How did you do this one, man?
At least you'll be negotiating from a position of respect. He gets dragged in and starts asking for regular human weapons, and then, by the way, if you happen to have a discombobulator or phased plasma rifle in the terawatt range, I'd like one of those too. Well, shocker, the gangsters just rob him, and the boss plans to disarm him, literally, so that he can eat the arm. If any office needed one of those, you don't have to be crazy to work here, but it helps, it's this place. When he gets knocked down, Vickus lands near an alien weapon.
Holy shit!
And proceeds to use it. The boss is now obsessed with getting that arm, seeing what he can do with it, and tells everybody he wants to have that arm. What the rest of the gangsters wisely decide to just give the man throwing around force blasts whatever it is he wants. Vickus makes off with the weapons with no idea that MNU is raiding District 9 to get him, so this is going to turn ugly fast. The one thing to avoid in this, though, is giving into temptation and crying, "You want a piece of me?" Because the answer, of course, is yes.